Kelly's on. All right, I'd like to call the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance budget meeting for March 2nd to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dan, we have someone presenting tonight.
Yes, so who would like to go first? PRWC?
Sure. Happy to. Put the Band-Aid on. I've asked the last few years, so it's nice to go first. All right, so turn this on so the folks online can hear us. So I'm Carol Haskins. I'm the Executive Director of Pomperaug River Watershed Coalition. It's nice to see so many new faces on both the Board of Finance and Board of Finance and Board of Selectmen. Maybe a couple intermingled, I don't know. Okay, good. So Pomperaug River Watershed Coalition, we've existed since 2000. 1999, we were incorporated in 2000. And the town has been a generous supporter really since the get-go. Around 2002, I think, was the first contribution. And over time, the town's support has grown with the growth of the organization and the number of initiatives that are of benefit to the community, and also inflation. So this year, we've come in with a $48,000 funding request, which is a change of $2,000 from last year, so it's a 4.35% increase. And we've requested a similar increase from the town of Woodbury. And we requested a just shy of 15% increase from the town of Oxford, as they did not keep up with Woodbury and Southbury when we increased the funding request in 2024. And so we're trying to get them back up in line. And we have a $2,500 funding request into the town of Bethlehem this year. So overall, within our organizational budget, the municipal support last year was about 23% of our overall organizational budget. And our overall budget is typically around $225,000. We have not yet prepared our budget for this fiscal year. I see John giving me the look, because he always asks me that question. We prepare our fiscal year budget in the fourth quarter of the year, and we generally base it on what we've seen in different program areas or revenue streams from previous years, and then look at where we are trying to grow the organization. And we just completed our strategic plan in the spring of 2025. So we are in a phase of very ambitious growth of the organization, which really focuses on increasing our community impact. And it's, the community impact being in the areas of scientific research and monitoring of the watershed, education and outreach, as well as, I like to say, lowercase advocacy. So being at the table for conversations around local land use decision-making, being a party to the procedures of what's going on in the legislature, providing public comments on different bills that are being proposed, things like that. We're not a lobbying agency. That's why I say lowercase a for the advocacy. And then the other area that we focus on heavily is restoration and protection. So looking at conservation on the ground initiatives. So with that, what else would you like, Dan?
Any
Yes.
questions for?
What percentage of the municipal contributions is Southbury?
Southbury makes up, let's see, it's a little over half of the town contributions. So percentage-wise, it's really based on a per capita basis. Bethlehem, the request we put in for them this year is about 75 cents per capita. We're trying to get them to integrate us into their budget. They've been very hit or miss. It's catch as catch can with them, like a $200 contribution here, $500 there, thousand was their biggest contribution. We also base it on the portion of the population that's located within the watershed or receives services from the watershed. So comparatively, Southbury and Woodbury are paying roughly the same per capita contribution. So Woodbury has about half the population that Southbury does, and so their contribution is half.
Can we get a line item budget for the current year you're operating under?
Your current year, yes. I did not bring that one with me. But I did bring with me, based on what you've asked for in previous years and what Dan confirmed you might ask for, is a copy of our balance sheet from last year and our fiscal year 24 and fiscal year 25 profit and loss reports that are budget to actual.
Is that up there, Dan?
It is not. Betsy, can I forward them to you, or? I can hook up, yeah.
Okay, I can pass around some hard copies though in the meantime.
I think next year, if you could send this along with your budget request next year so we can have it up for everybody to see. Thank you.
So here is the P and L for fiscal year 24 and 25.
So within that, I would highlight the account line 4210, about halfway down on the income, is where our municipal support shows up. So you can see that difference between the 15% increase that happened between fiscal year 24 and to 25. In fiscal year 26, we did not ask for any increases from the municipalities because everyone was responding to flooding, to the 2024 flood. So we knew resources were strapped, and we were sitting there just the same as you guys were as far as that flood response went. So this year's, we're coming back in with an increase again this year.
So Carol, just a quick question on 4232 WMT 319 grant. In fiscal year 24, it looks like you got it in 25. Are we waiting for it, or is it?
So in 2024, we had budgeted the final components of a grant that supported updating the watershed-based plan. That project was completed, and we have not applied for funding from that grant pool. And we are planning to apply for the funding round that's coming up this month. So, go ahead.
So, other than the town support, like that line on the top, was that like, I don't know, contributions? Is that like 4120 there? Is that the total of the other?
Yes, that's the total with the other municipalities.
Okay. And then not the other municipalities, like the other non-municipality support part, is that above that?
Yes. Yep, so the general donations are above, at the very top of the budget. So the individual and corporate and water company gifts are appearing at the very top of the P&L.
Okay, and so I guess if we look at, again, what total 4120, like what is the line that has 153,000 and then 59, that one?
Yes, so within that, in both fiscal years, the last two fiscal years, we've had kind of a significant windfall And you'll see that showing up in the 4126 and 4127. We had three really significant bequests. So those are things that we don't budget for. We don't wish anybody to die. But we do hope folks will include us in their estates. And we were fortunate we did have people that included us in their estates. So fiscal year 24 and 25 have significant windfalls. In 25, those were unrestricted gifts, and in 24, that was a restricted gift for an endowment fund.
Okay,
we
and that's
can't
why,
touch that one.
that's probably why it went down. Did it go down from the total go down from 217 to 150?
Yeah. So that total contribution, there's a $162,000 gift that was entirely restricted. We cannot touch the principal on it.
Okay.
In 2025, $111,000 to your balance sheet as income.
Yes.
What do you expect to be putting to your balance sheet in 2026?
As of right now, we're expecting to put, we just did a reforecast, and it's modestly, we're looking at about 10,000.
Because of a decline in revenues?
No, it's more of an increase in spending that's in line with our strategic priorities.
Okay.
So we're taking a lot of risk this year and looking at those operating reserves that we've seen in the past years with those windfalls, and aligning that revenue of unrestricted bequests with the strategic priorities to be able to expand our community impact.
With nearly $500,000 of largely liquid assets, are you saving for something?
So when you say largely liquid, of that, 221,000 is not liquid. We cannot touch that.
You can touch the income, but you can't touch the principal?
Correct.
Do you have capital asset other than your computer's requirements?
We do not. Everything has been fully depreciated.
Okay, so only computers are your only capital assets? You don't own your building, you don't have vehicles?
None of the
let's see.
above.
And your computers are fully depreciated. I guess you got a bill for $15,000 coming up to replace all that stuff? Maybe?
That's one of the things that we're spending funding on strategically is we are working right now on some major technology overhaul, looking at what is that time span and lifespan of the computers that we have and replacing those, and also getting our whole technology system back into a single ecosystem. I know enough to be dangerous when it comes to technology. As an executive director of a very small nonprofit with 2.5 people, well, now 3 people equivalent, I wear a lot of hats. And so during COVID, I made the error, maybe, the uninformed solution of moving all of our files to Google. And then as we've returned to office, we're back on a shared network and files live in 2 places. So we're trying to reintegrate all of that back into one ecosystem. So that's a very strategic priority for us as we look to grow, because there's a lot of effort that's kind of an exercise in frustration, trying to just simply locate files. So, yeah. But yes, replacing computers and updating software and all of that is high priority for the coming year and current year.
The grants that you applied to, it looked like line item 4,300. The grants went down a significant amount. Do you guys look for funding with grants at all?
We do. So in fiscal year 25 and 24, we were very much in that realm of strategic planning. So we went back and invested in ourselves to, reset, restage, reprioritize. where we're headed. And as far as grant funding goes, I am very proud to say we just received a $160,000 grant from the federal government, from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. It is for a project that will be in Woodbury at Three Rivers Park, focused on the in-stream flow as well as the riparian habitat, and essentially creating engineering design plans for a future restoration project. And that's the first National Fish and Wildlife grant we've secured. We've looked at applying for funding for Bennett Park as well, here in Southbury. But everything that happens upstream will be of benefit to the Southbury residents. Another recent applications that we've submitted are with the town of Woodbury, and we essentially prepared applications for the town to submit to Connecticut DEP's Long Island Sound Habitat Grant or Ecosystems Grant, and it was like stormwater prevention something, and then the Connecticut DEP Resilience Fund. We submitted the same application, kind of reframed the ask, but we requested $240,000 for the town to a grant pool. Both grant pools did not require matching funds. And we applied for, again, engineering phase of a culvert replacement. So it was a high priority crossing on Clark Brook. That was a direct outcome of the road stream crossing assessment work that we did, and prioritized the severity of the aquatic life barrier. And it was also a crossing that was high priority for the Public Works Department, as the crossing had sustained significant damage during the flooding in 23 and 24. So yes, grants are always on our radar, and we apply for probably 4 times as many as we get.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions? Thank you.
You're welcome. So you want to see the current year fiscal year budget as a wrap-up, and then once we have the next year fiscal year budget as submitted? Okay. Excellent. And I do have handouts if anyone would like them. I'll leave some on the table here, and any extras I can come back and grab tomorrow. I'll leave them on the end of the table with Betsy. But they include just a general brochure about us, our strategic plan, a really helpful map that is all the named rivers and streams within the watershed, our most recent newsletter, and I think that's probably what I will leave behind.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Who do we got next, Dan?
Barb from Lake Zor Authority.
Can you just-
Oh, hi. Good evening. I'm Barb McWilliams. I'm the chairwoman of the Lake Zor Authority here. I'm also a representative for Southbury. I've been doing this is going to be year 5. I'm really nervous, again. I'm so good at public speaking. Should have taken the courses. Anyway, we are responsible to have the Marine Patrol provide service to the 4 towns. It's us, Monroe, Newtown, and Oxford. It's all equal. Our Marine Patrol has been active, as they always are. I think we sent in, like, how many citations and all that stuff we sent in to you. I don't know if you're interested, but I could share with it. There were 72 patrols. For enforcement actions, there were 159 boat vessels inspections. There was 262. Tows of disabled boats was 26, and 37 notable debris removals for the navigational waterway, which means we have better communication now with First Light, that they're doing more of their job to help clear out the debris. We've had pretty positive and continual growth with First Light regarding this action, and they have, last year they made Zora a priority over Lily, and they have committed to do that again this year as well. We have our weed treatment program. We had a meeting on that last week. We will be planning on 2 weed treatments, one in beginning of May, by May 15th. That'll handle the curly leaf that comes out that time of year. And then the second one will be handling the milfoil, which will happen no later than the end of June. We still have a threat of hydrilla, like everyone else does. Waterways, we have not had any. It's still far up north on Lily. But we do have extra money in our reserve, God forbid that happens. We can get reimbursed, we know from the state, but we have the funds to take action on it if that need be.
What is that? I'm sorry.
Hydrilla?
Yeah.
It's a new invasive species that is very, it's very contagious, for lack of a better word. It multiplies very quickly. And what it does is it just seals the sunlight, you know, from the bottom, and it's stagnant. And it's very aggressive. It was first spotted in the Connecticut River. I want to say it was like 4 or 5 years ago, traveled all up the Connecticut River, and now we're down the Housatonic. The closest it's gotten to us has been the north end of Lilinona. They have told us, like, for the last 3 years, we're going to get it. We've yet to get it, so this is great. This is great news. We have other weeds that we like to play with, you know. Again, we have the curly leaf, we have milfoil, we have the brittle nade, and we have the chestnuts. But we do what we do, you know. The biggest problem is the curly leaf and then the milfoil, and we work on the navigational ways. And last year, we were only given an opportunity to treat 50 acres. Normally, we got a permit for 80. So we had to really scrutinize where we could treat, and that was tough. But we are pushing again for an 80-acre permit again, and with that said, we will take care of it. We're also considering, there's a chemical called Perlacor. It's expensive. It's about $1,000 an acre, but it has a guarantee of about 3 years. So if things do add up right this year, we kind of want to take a swath of something, possibly the sandbar, and say, let's try to do something here, just because it's a problem. Obviously, it's a problem. So it's just a different maneuver we're doing. In addition to that, we are not using Diquat this year. There will be no Diquat into Lake Zor. We're using a chemical called Endothol, which is actually Aquathol K as the brand. It's really, it's a great herbicide for especially curly leaf. It's excellent also for milfoil, but curly leaf is like its main target. But it was also just public opinion to stop saying Diquat. Everyone, they get their back up when you say Diquat. So I just think this is a better way to approach the public and open more communications up instead of having half the lake say, what are you doing? You're treating the lake with chemicals. So it'll start a conversation. Our police department, you know, we have cops from Monroe, Oxford, and Newtown. Southbury still does not provide us any police. And the prices of the police, they're getting crazy. Newtown's $94 an hour, Monroe is $61 an hour, and Oxford's $122 an hour. So that is the reason for our increase of 5%. That's what's getting us. We are not keeping up such a high reserve anymore because we got our new boats. You know, we're good for another 15, 20 years. We are going to be selling off the third one of those older boats that we did have. We hung on to it last year just to see if we needed it. We don't need it. It's going. That'll lower our insurance. We don't need a slip. It's the way to do it. Do you have questions for me?
So Barb, for the new members of the board, how do the patrols work with the officers?
You have one driver, which is Marine Patrol, and one police officer. And they take an 8-hour shift usually. But we have 2 police departments. I believe it's Oxford and Newtown. If you work a minute over the 4 hours, we have to pay them for 8. So if we pull the boat in because of weather or whatnot, that is something new that we're dealing with. We've dealt with this past year, and we're dealing with it obviously again. And we do a patrol on Saturday, Sundays. We have been consistent on doing Friday nights. Obviously, we do Tuesday nights when Oxford has their concerts. And then we've been doing randomly, when the lake looks busy, we get a patrol out there. And we've been very successful with getting rid of some of the not welcoming crowds at the former, what we're going to call the former Southbury Beach. It's not Southbury Beach, it's just the former Southbury Beach. The traffic down there has come down considerably, which is fantastic, because that was not fun for our drivers or officers. They've done a really good job on getting the jet skis out of there that have not been registered. And not only do they not have registered, then they don't have a boating license. It goes like, it's 2 for 2. So they've been great on it. We're making big strides. We communicate really well with our website as well as our Facebook page. And we just encourage, the public to come out and join our meetings.
Do you raise any money besides what you get from the towns?
What's that?
Do you raise any money besides what you get from the towns?
No. The only money, I was able to get a couple donations when we were looking for the boats from First Light. And we worked out a deal that Enbridge gave us a donation because we did help them. We guarded the site for them. And that helped offset the prices of the 2 boats. In addition to the $10,000 assessment we charged the towns, I think it was 2 years ago now. But that's it. We did get the new, also the blockade up by the Chippewa Dam this year, finally, after the tornado of 2018, that vessels cannot go up past that point, because that has been a horrible sticking point with having a patrol boat having to go in that shallow water. Normally a prop is going to get ruined, but it has just been so dangerous. So that has been a lot of nagging on my part. I will say I'm the queen nag, but I got deep in First Light to get it done. So that is done. We also put some new lights on the trellises by the Silver Bridge for when it's foggy. We're continuing with our life jacket stand. Eichler's Cove is working with that hand in hand. We're working on, I believe there's a couple of Eagle Scouts that want to get involved this year to help with the volunteerism to promote that program as well.
Anyone have any questions?
Is that the end of it right there, Betsy?
Your technology requirements, could you talk about your computers and software and where you are with what generation?
Sure. We upgraded 2 years ago. We're all on Microsoft Office, and we require all the commissioners to use a Lake Shore Authority email, so we're compliant with the Freedom of Information Act. So we do pay for Microsoft Office on a monthly basis. We also do use QuickBooks Online, and that is the other part we use. Everybody works on their own computers at home.
And do you have a computer and a server or whatever?
No, we have someone, yes, all right, so our website, the guy that does the website, I can answer this as best I can. We have a GoDaddy fund or a GoDaddy website that works with us, and someone does all the brain work behind the website for us. It's a volunteer as well.
Anybody else have any questions?
Good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. We had asked Lake Leelanau, but they didn't respond today, so they're not here. So Amy, Housatonic Valley Health District.
Amy, could you talk into the microphone, please? Turn it on. Green, there you go.
Yes, thank you. I just have some documents that I'll pass around before I start.
Yeah, thank you. Not really sure.
So the, yeah, and then, yeah. So the documents that you should have in front of you include the fiscal year 26-27 budget. And I do have a comparison to budget years prior, 25-26 budget and the audit. So the actual for fiscal year 24-25. In addition to that, I have a budget variance memo, which I'm not sure if we have to put up on the screen. That's okay. If not, I can kind of read off what some of the variance was between this budget year and the year prior. And also in your packets, thank you, Betsy, we do have it. Also in your packets, what you'll see is a comparison between the per capita rates for Housatonic Valley Health District and for other health districts throughout the state. So maybe we'll start here because I do want to call attention to the fact that there is a very nominal increase in the per capita rate for this fiscal year proposed. So if we take this last page in the packet that you have in front of you, we can take a look at the per capita district rates for the past 3 years. So, or past 3 years. So what these per capita rates are based on is population of each of the towns. So we can see if we go to Aspetuck Health District, Newtown, we can see their per capita rates here, and then we see Housatonic Valley Health District right in the middle. So what the intent of this information, providing this information is to show that Housatonic Valley Health District has consistently remained in the middle of the pack with regard to per capita, which is notable because we are in a portion of the state that tends to have districts that have a bit higher on average of a per capita than other surrounding districts. So I think that is a win in our book. I also want to call attention to the fact that although we did, as I said, a nominal increase this year, last year's per capita rate was $968, this year's is $998. We are still below what our per capita rate was in fiscal year 23-24, which was $1071. So if we go back to the budget spreadsheet itself, we can see what some of the major revenue variances include. So for town contributions per capita, we'll see an increase in $33,006. This increase reflects updated population figures, so populations for some of the towns grew, Southbury being one of them. We were recently very happy to welcome a new board member from the town of Southbury to our HVHD board. Because of that population increase exceeding 20,000 folks. So very happy to have Sarah on board with us. In addition, increasing, like I said, increasing the per capita from 968 to 998. And on review of per capita rates from districts across the state, this 3% increase, so it is really a 3% from the 968 to 998, maintains HVHD's status as average with regard to comparative district per capita rates. John always yells at me when I do numbers instead of percentage, but hopefully he'll bear with me when I say, if we look at the Southbury line item, the dollar increase for the town of Southbury, this year's budget as compared to last year's is really only $8,183. So I know we never want to increase budgets. Our goal is always to be as fiscally responsible as possible, but we are asking for a very slight, less than 10,000 rather increase. So increase of $8,183. Some other variances that you'll note in this budget spreadsheet include the state per capita grant. There was an increase of $54,265. which was just an increase in state funding from $2.34 per person to $3 per person in fiscal year 26-27. That has not been finalized yet, but that is what the state is anticipating giving to local health for this coming fiscal year. With regard to interest income, there was a decrease of $12,504, and we budgeted for a decrease because of lower interest earning rates that we projected for this year as opposed to years prior. With regard to excess surplus, we reduced that line item by $16,295, and the reason there was because the excess surplus revenue declined as prior year surplus was utilized in 24-26 or 25-26 rather to stabilize operations. So ultimately, really our intent here is to eliminate the use of surplus in subsequent years, as we anticipate we won't have as much because we have been dipping into it for a couple of years now. So we want to really eliminate that line item, and that's our goal for next year. Environmental health revenue. So we're doing really well from an environmental health perspective. This has to do with trends in real estate. This has to do with weather, and this has to do with our staff and all of the work that they're completing. So they're doing a really fantastic job. So yeah, this increase is really driven primarily by higher environmental health licensing and permitting activity, reflecting increased service demand and fee collection as evidenced during previous year's audits, and an analysis of units and rates. This increase reflects a 2% increase in all fees as well, so that's something to keep in mind when we look at our fee schedule, which our board will be voting on at our upcoming meeting. Those rates will increase very slightly. 2% will be applied to each of those fees. Unfortunately, we have a decrease in grants revenue, $32,379. This is due to the conclusion of several limited time or one-time grant awards that were included in the prior fiscal year. Unfortunately, with some of the climate at the federal level, public health grants are not as easy to come by as they once were. So we are keeping an eye on that, and we're applying, and we're hoping that there are some opportunities that come our way, because we certainly would love to boost some of that grant revenue.
So Amy, just a quick question. For salons, pools, and daycares, you have nothing in the budget for fiscal year 26-27. Is that just not going to happen, or a change in strategy, or?
So that was due to when we were using our QuickBooks chart of accounts to report out, we weren't able to stratify salons, pools, and daycares alone. So for this fiscal year, we grouped it in with the rest of environmental health licensing. I don't like doing it that way. So we have since fixed that issue, and in the coming fiscal year, it will be designated. But I would say the 20,000 or so that's there from the year prior is pretty accurate.
So it's part of the $89,000 increase
It is part of the
under environmental health licensing.
yes, so the 414.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks.
So with regard to major expenditure variances, there was an increase in salaries for both part and full-time staff. This increase reflects a 2% COLA increase for all employees, step increases for those who have received additional credentials, and staffing costs necessary to maintain service levels and meet regulatory obligations. We do operate in a fee-for-service capacity in many aspects with environmental health, but then there are some activities that we perform environmentally and primarily on the community health side that we don't charge for. So because of that, we have to include some of those operating costs in our budget, because we're not collecting a fee for some of the work that we're doing. Fringe benefits, higher fringe costs are attributable to increases in medical insurance premiums, 14%. I know Dan knows that well, unfortunately, also. Retirement premiums and benefit cost adjustments associated with staffing levels. There's a slight increase in payroll taxes of a little under $8,000. Payroll tax expenses increased proportionately with higher salary and wage costs budgeted for 26-27. We did include a bit of an increase in attorney costs, so that's $10,000. Legal expenses were increased to account for anticipated labor, regulatory, and compliance-related matters. We decently frequently, I would say several times a month, have to issue notices of violation regarding various different types of environmental issues that may come up in our communities, and we do like to have our lawyer review those before they go out to make sure that they are appropriately addressing the situation. IT services and support, there's a reduction of $14,580, and this decrease reflects completion of a one-time software implementation in fiscal year 25-26 and cost containment achieved through contract adjustments and eliminating non-recurring expenses. We did a lot with regard to the IT line item of cutting things out that we felt were not necessary and looking into more cost-appropriate options for some of our activities, and we were very successful in doing that, and we cut a decent amount out of the budget. And lastly, mileage for our environmental team has increased by $7,500. This increased mileage reflects reimbursement rate as determined by the IRS and some increase in environmental health staffing as well, which was certainly needed. So overall, the fiscal year 26-27 budget remains balanced with increased revenues, particularly with regard to state and environmental health resources, offsetting higher personnel and operation costs. The identified variances represent necessary and anticipated adjustments to sustain service delivery and regulatory compliance. However, ideally, in future years, HVHD will no longer need to pull from surplus revenue. Any questions?
How do you decide the percentage fee increase? I mean, so do you kind of, do the fees go pro rata with the expenses, or what's your logic about thinking about the fee increases?
That's a great question. So we practice zero-based budgeting, which means we build it from the ground up. So I don't start the budget with a certain, dollar amount or fee in mind. So once we determine really what the needs are, not what we want, because certainly the budget would be bigger if we were getting everything we wanted, based on what we need, we calculate. Our ideology is really, it's more appropriate to have higher fees that are attributed to elective work. So we don't have extremely high fees for our restaurateurs because we want to make sure we're supporting small business. If someone wants to put a patio on their house, if someone wants to put a pool on their house, some of those fees are a little bit larger because those are elective services that people are conducting. Our primary ideology is keeping the per capita fee for the town low. And that's because we think, again, some of those elective services should really be supported by the folks who are benefiting from them as opposed to the overall community.
Yeah, that was the point of my question. About whether the fee should pay for most of the increase versus versus the town.
So go ahead, John, if you want to.
The Finance Committee did a deep dive 2 years ago and did a cost analysis of every service we provide for a fee. And those were adjusted based on a complicated rubric of who was a complicated rubric. So that's one. Two, there's a philosophical debate among all health districts as to whether or not the per capita fee, which the towns pay, should support what percentage of the cost of the work we do versus the users who get the inspections and cause the work. We have a history And we are not in a position to change the philosophy, which would shift one way or the other, higher fees or higher per capita. And as far as the 2% goes, our prior health director, or prior health director, every 5 years would take a bunch of fees. Let's say there are 50 fees, he'd take 10 of them a year, I guess, and change them. We've decided that a steady 2% a year change in the fees would parallel the cost to provide the service, which is the labor. So we're keeping the mix between per capita to the town versus the fee to the user the same, with a 2% COLA increase in the fees, in the fee schedule. That's how we came to that.
So if she came and wanted a 10% increase to the town, would that mean that the fees would go up more than 2%? I mean, I guess the question is the percentages based on is it a percentage-based thing, as opposed to, like, when you say to me, the fees are going up 2%, that bothers me, because it tells me, well, if inflation was 20% and the fees are up 2%, something's not quite right? So is it 2% of, is it kind of proportioned in such a way that if the costs go up 10%, then the fees take an appropriate amount of the weight of that? They go up appropriately.
That's a very interesting philosophical discussion.
I think it might be worth noting that our per capita to the towns has not increased in the past 3 years, and the the fee schedule has continued to increase. So
Okay.
that, I think, is noteworthy. But yes, I agree, that's probably merits longer conversation with the Finance Committee.
Okay. I mean, I don't like anything that's like flat 2%, because the world fluctuates, right?
I think the 2% came from the steady annual estimated cost of living salary increase rates that the town and the district have been enduring. I think that's where that 2% comes from.
All right, anyway, so if it's working, it's working. We'll worry about it when it doesn't work, I guess.
Have any questions?
No.
Thank you, Amy.
Thanks, Amy. One thing before we adjourn, Betsy, if I could just put, yeah, switch. So, as we've been going through these meetings, and I think I've been hearing, areas of where, there's some questions or concerns. So this weekend I came in and I kind of did a deep dive on every line by line, and I took out a couple of lines where I feel there could be areas where we might be able to make some adjustments. So I put this together. I'll send this out to everyone as well so they can review it, but it came to about $62,000, which would reduce our budget from 4.03 to 3.77. So some of the ones like Jason brought up, hauling and recycling hauling. I looked at a 5-year average of surplus that was on the line, a 5-year actual spend, and then I took their budget request and then made some slight adjustments, just based on my opinion. The only one that wasn't was the Ballantyne pool sign. If we repair that and take that out, we can take that out of the capital altogether. So these totals come to about $62,000.
What would that get us to?
It gets us to 3.77, John.
percent increase?
Yeah, we're at 4.03 right now.
Thanks for doing this, Dan. I think it's a really good start. And I'm sorry, I said, thanks for doing this, Dan. I think it's a really good start. You know, and I'm glad we're at least in that mindset that we can do better. And the amount of people over the weekend who came up to me about the pool sign, you know, no one cared about the hauling number or the big numbers, but like if we're paying for a $7,000 sign, I'm going to kill somebody. So I'm glad that made the list as well.
I assume we're gonna repair the pool sign now?
We are, yes. Yeah,
So-
I'll talk to our public works guys to see if,
So do we need the, right, okay.
and I think we have enough funding in our infrastructure plan right now to do so.
And
Or volunteers if we can't find money.
Gotta be some scout troop somewhere. And duct tape. Yeah, she's really good. I have a question. I was tooling around at old budgets, and I came across a fund I didn't understand, LOCIP.
That's a low SIP?
Yeah, it seems like it has a revenue of like $5,000 every year, and it looks like we never spend it. It's like up to,
No, low SIP is actually a grant we get from the state, Kathy. It's a local capital improvement, so,
there was some fund saying that you charge $3 per paper, and it goes into this fund for LoCIP,
oh, that's the town clerk fund.
the town,
They,
yeah.
yeah, they do spend that. They get a grant every year. For example, this year, Alice is redoing the vault with the money that comes in. Does she spend all of it? No, she spends a portion of it every year. It's just a town clerk fund.
It's up to like
It's
over 100.
$155,000 right now, as of January 31st.
Gee, this is a nice little nest egg.
Yeah,
It's not
last
bad.
year she bought fireproof cabinets for the ballots, which we needed for the elections.
Oh, okay.
This year, she's redoing the vault. The year before, they did a scanner for town clerks so they could scan documents. So every year they do something. It's just, it grows because the money, it's part of our sweep account as well, so it earns interest every month as we sweep it out with all of our funds. So, and they got $5,000 from the state additional this year in that fund.
Now, are we still charging only $3 per page? 'Cause
We
that
are,
was-
yes.
'cause that was
That's,
something that was from like,
That's set by state statute.
so that's still
Yeah.
state statute? All right. I didn't know if it was something that was set 20 years ago and we forgot
Yeah.
about it.
And sorry, that's actually in the special revenues fund, so that we don't even vote that in this budget. It's part of the special revenue.
Okay. Thank you.
And I saw in Voices that the tree thing finally got settled. Where does that money go?
That is a discussion that everyone around the table here will have to have at some point to figure out when that money comes in.
Not here yet.
Because right now, if we take it in, it's just a revenue.
That'll be accounted for and see the light of day officially when we look at the estimated revenues and the net surplus for the year and what we do with the undesignated fund. So that will be a line item that goes into Schickele's mix at that point.
So Dan, do we need
So that will
to,
be, John, to you, right here. Right now, we are giving back $1.8 million of our unassigned fund balance this year to the taxpayers. If we take that 600,000 in as well, it will be in there some way. We'll figure it in.
what is that, the combination of the two surpluses for the last 2 years?
This is the combination of the surpluses historically, Tim. So yeah, this is the, what's left in the unassigned fund balance. And then what we do, we give it back to the taxpayers over 4 years. So it's 40, 30, 20, 10.
And that's as a revenue item.
That's as a revenue item, so that will, if you look at our revenue sheet, 1,008,78332. If we were not to do that, our taxes collectible would go from 73,975 to 75. Give you the number exactly. $75,854,017, and it would be an additional, almost a full mil, a half a mil, sorry, half a mil.
Okay, do we need to make a motion to approve these adjustments that you made over the weekend? For
If-
62,000?
If the board wants to do that, they would make a motion, yes. If not, we could do it at Thursday's meeting, sorry. If they want to look them over and think about it. And
Yeah, if there's no clock ticking, and I don't think there is, I wouldn't mind sitting down for more than a couple minutes. and
Okay,
doing it on
well, the
Thursday.
clock is ticking, because if we don't get this budget approved at the Thursday Board of Selectmen meeting, we only have until the 15th, so we would have to call a special meeting otherwise.
All right, so we got 2 weeks.
We have a couple days.
Today's the 2nd, we got to the 15th.
You may have some more ideas.
Perish the thought.
that's all I have.
Does this, is the hauling include, what's it thinking about the food scraps?
This number does not include the food scraps, Tom?
Okay. Okay, so I mean, we should at least go public with that or figure out what we're gonna do about it, right?
Yes.
So to Tim's question, you know, if you want to make the motion now, you can. Your call. It's Board of Selectmen job.
Yeah, I would prefer to do it on Thursday since we're already meeting.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.